Some places just have that feeling. You go there and it seems like nothing's ever changed. Step back in time with me as we explore the ghost mining town of Vulture City. This story does contain descriptions of violence, so viewer discretion is advised.
Whenever you're ready.
Hey everyone, it's Ashley and I'm back with another video. Today we're inside Vulture City and this is an old ghost mining town and there's so much history and so many cool things here. I thought this would be really fun for you guys for the month of October to share something kind of spooky and creepy and do some crafting at the same time. So if you're interested, definitely hit the subscribe button and hit the like button and let's get to it. Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about why I was so interested in creating in a ghost town. I thought this would be such a fun idea, and particularly I've been a fan of Mikey's series on glam and gore. I'll leave a link to it below. If you like anything that's kind of spooky or scary, it's definitely a great watch, her whole series on going and visiting, random haunted places. And Arizona is definitely known for some haunted places and places with some very interesting history. Even though we're on the newer end of states in the US, there's still some really great history here, and I thought it would be fun to share with you guys. So this whole project is kind of inspired about the spooky, scary tales that are around that we kind of sometimes take for granted if you live somewhere. So I thought it would be fun to show you around one of the spooky places in Arizona and make a fun little DIY at the same time. So this whole DIY is going to be making some cute decor using the Cricut Joy. And the Cricut Joy you can take with you. It's really easy to use. And I thought it would be really fun. Since it's so compact, I thought why not take something that I can make and that's fun and give you guys a tour of some spooky places. So here we go. Arizona is probably best known for the 5 C's: copper, cattle, cotton, citrus, and climate. But its rich mining history also includes gold and silver. And what was everyone looking for in the mid to late 1800s? Gold. They were looking to strike it rich. And this whole story starts out with the idea of looking for new opportunities, some of the pitfalls and successes that come with it, the rise of a boom town, and also the decline. The story of Vulture City begins with Henry Wickenburg. Henry was born in 1819 in Prussia, which is now part of modern-day Germany. He came to America at the age of 28 in 1847. By the age of 44, he struck his first big claim in what now is known as Vulture Mine. There isn't a lot that's known about his early life. Henry was notorious for kind of telling different stories depending on who he talked to. And it's funny because he has a reputation for being very bold, but also quiet, but also it seems kind of mischievous in the way that he gave out information. So even the story of how Vulture City was formed and the reasons for its name aren't really known because he gave different stories to everybody that he talked to. So this man is as much an enigma as this whole story is. There's pieces that we know for certain and pieces that we don't know. And so a lot of this town is kind of shrouded in some mysteries. There are areas that are rumors, some that are tales, and some that are truth. And it's up to you kind of to decide what you believe based on the different tales and what you know of the place. So it's a really great read as far as history. If you're ever trying to learn more about history, it's almost like a detective story when you hear about the different tales from Vulture City. What we do know about the formation of Vulture Mine, which eventually became Vulture City, was that in the fall of 1863, Henry Wickenburg and a group of a few other men were wandering around this section of Arizona, and he found a really great, rich outcropping of quartz, and that was something that wasn't being mined in Arizona at the time. So he decided to stake a claim, and he started working the land and mining it to see if he could, make a fortune on it. And he was doing so well with it that he decided to bring in other miners and let them pay a section to work with that. So he was making money off of, what other people were doing, so he could keep funneling that back into the mine, and it just kept making more money. So by 1865, they called the new town that sprung up around Vulture City Wickenburg, after Henry Wickenburg. He had a really great reputation because there were about 200 to 300 residents at the time who were making their whole living off of this whole mine situation. So it was a really great start to finding riches and finding opportunity. And this eventually turned into the biggest claim for gold, and also some silver was found there as well that happened in Arizona. So Vulture City became a rich, thriving town based off of this initial discovery, and it went from 200 to 300 citizens to, at its peak, about 5,000 people working this area. So it's a really great story of rags to riches. By the time that the mine shut down in 1942, due to the war effort, all the mines were closed. It had made about 340,000 ounces of gold, if you can believe that. Equivalent today, that would be about $648 million worth of gold. That is a ton of gold. And they also found 260,000 ounces of silver as well. So there was a ton that was brought out of this section of Arizona. And as you can imagine, it was definitely a full-time job for all of those people and the families that worked there. Something that was very unique about Vulture City was that it didn't form by the same rules as every other place. Places such as Prescott had restrictions against who was allowed to mine and who was able to live there, and Vulture City didn't have that. It was a land of opportunity. It was a land of looking for your own fortune, and it was a little bit of a land of lawlessness as well. There were multiple reports of rules being broken, laws being broken, people getting hurt, that type of thing. And it was kind of vigilante justice. There was no justice system really established in this area because it was so new. So, there are all these people that gathered from all over the world, from Russia, from Canada, from Germany, from the British Isles, from China, from Mexico, and even some Indians that had escaped from the March of Tears, who were the Yavapai, came and lived in the area of Wickenburg, and some of them settled as well in Vulture City. So this has a lot of opportunity for people as well as a lot of risk. That's something that everybody who came there kind of knew, that there was a risk associated with it. But even women could start businesses and own land, and there was something that was a lot more free about the way that they were able to live their life. One of the most enduring legends in Vulture City is the hanging tree, and this tree is a 200-plus-year-old ironwood tree where reportedly 18 men were hung for stealing gold from the mine. So there were bars that were created at the mine, and there's at least one confirmed that we know of a person who got away with, several bars of gold. And there's rumors that they got away with even more, that different people got away with, different amounts of gold, and that these people were caught and that they were hung because there was no real justice. There was just vigilante justice. So people would gather together, and if someone broke a law, they would basically hang them. And unfortunately, it was a very rough way to die if it was true. They would hang people from the tree and put a large rock underneath them and then kick it out. And it would take reportedly several hours for people to die. So terrible way to die, but also a great example of, we don't know 100%, how much is true, how much is not. But based on the reports of lawlessness, there's likely a kernel of truth in there. Take a look at this house just beyond the tree. This is said to be the second home of Henry Wickenburg whenever he was at the mine. He spent his time here checking in with the foreman, making sure that everything was running, and, continuing his business ventures. He was a farmer. He was also buying land, buying other mines, and, he was a figurehead for this whole town. He was the first postman. He held numerous offices and was in different groups. So he was an important figure to this whole area. And this house actually had to be rebuilt, as did a lot of the property by the newer owners, because over time, just sitting, the houses started decaying, And so this one was brought back to life and kind of put back together. And as if you think about it, if you take a look, it being so close to the hanging tree, isn't that a bit weird? Most of these buildings along here are said to be haunted. People say that even though that the buildings have been empty so long, that there's still this kind of feeling, this kind of energy or spirit that's still left behind. And if you look at the history of the town itself, Vulture City and Vulture Mine, there's numerous incidences of violence, of death due to illness, of accidents, of people getting lost in the desert and being found later dead. There's so much history here that it's easy to say that there could be something left behind. Legend says that the Assay House is one of the most haunted areas inside Vulture City, and the reason for this is where all the action happened. The bars of gold were smelted and made bearing the stamp of Vulture City, and then they were stored underneath the Assay House. As you can tell, it's a 2-story house, and the reason for this is it required guards around it at all times. It was constantly under attack from different areas. There were bandits who would try to break in, and legend says that bullets were flying and that it was a dangerous place to be. You had to be on top of your game because people were always there to try to steal something from you. So it was kind of a tough area to be in. And as you can see, here's the whole area as it stands currently. It had to be rebuilt on the 2nd story because it did decay with some time. So it's been rebuilt and kind of propped back up in some of the areas where there was damage. But a lot of what was there is still retained within the building here. So it gives you a really good idea of what it was like, including not just for the people who worked in the assay office, but for the security who worked there at the time too.
Oh, the building doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound like it's raining.
There were people, they had to rebuild it up because it was starting to collapse.
Why does the building sound like it's raining?
Working in a mine is every bit as dangerous as it sounds, and it also makes a great ghost story. But in actuality, mining in Arizona was a very dangerous business, and a lot of people took the risk at the chance of making gold. So there are plenty of stories related to the injuries and deaths throughout Arizona for people who were working in mines. Here's one that was attributed to the Vulture City mine. In December of 1913, a worker decided they were going to take a shortcut through an underground chamber at the end of their shift. And even though there was blasting in progress, they thought that they could make it in between one blast to the other. They miscalculated, and unfortunately, it ended up being a fatal accident. A second incident is something that is talked about often, but I believe it's more legend than fact. And it was supposedly 7 miners who went into the mine at night with some burros, and they were trying to make some extra money by chipping away at a specific deposit, which was kind of structural. And supposedly it caved in on them and they died. And it took away the burros and it took away the miners. They haven't been able to find actual evidence related to this, but this is something that goes around as a story, and it has gone around a story for a long period of time. And if you look at all of the deaths and injuries that happened in Arizona mines, it's easy to see why these tales can keep continuing. It's because there are a lot of documented incidences of deaths and injuries all related to mining. Accidents from blasts, accidents from cave-ins, rocks falling. There were many dangers that people faced. So it was a hard life, it was a dangerous life, and it could have led to a ghost story. The next story also relates to mining, and this is probably Arizona's most favorite mining story, kind of a ghost story as well, and this is about the Lost Dutchman mine. So there was the story of this man, or 2 men, as some stories go, that found a mine that was a rich gold mine, and they were telling people that they found a mine, but they wouldn't give up the location. Well, of course, if you find a gold mine, you're not telling anyone, right? So this person was seen with gold, and they said that they found this really awesome mine, and everyone was trying to find out, okay, where is this mine? And some people believe that it was a man named Jacob Waltz, and they believe that he had ties to Vulture City. However, we can't find any documentation, or at least it's not commonly known if there is some. And so there are some ties to Vulture City. Some people believe that his found mine was really just doing the same thing that other people were doing, which was stealing from the mine and saying that he found a mine. Or maybe he did find a mine. And in fact, this has spawned so many stories and people looking for the Lost Dutchman mine that people have searched all over the place, and it is still a popular thing today to kind of prospect and look for where the Lost Dutchman mine might be. And they believe it is in the Superstition Mountains that he was talking about, or that the rumors were leading to. But people have died on the search, and part of Arizona's history now, we have a state park named after Lost Dutchman. So it's interesting how it all ties back, but perhaps it got its start in Vulture City. What do you think? Do you think whoever it was, took gold from an established mine, or did they actually find a mine? I don't know. Our story ends the same way it began, with Henry Wickenburg. In 1890, there was a huge flood that hit Wickenburg and Vulture City and that whole region, and unfortunately damaged a lot of the mines and a lot of the properties in the region. Henry was a farmer, and he had also purchased land all over the place, as well as other mines, and this flood made him basically destitute. He had to sell off his share of this Vulture mine, which was 80% ownership. And so he sold it off with a down payment. They gave him the down payment, and then they fought him on it. And they basically said that he didn't have a good title to it because there were originally some problems with the way the title was created and some disputes over who found it and all of that related to it. So he basically ended up with nothing after all of this was said and done. You know, the man who started this, who was an enigma and a mystery, ends his life in the same way. His death was kind of undetermined. Some people believe it was by his own hand. Some people believe that it was by someone else who wanted to harm him. And they never were quite sure what happened there. So, you know, his ending, it was kind of the same way as his beginning. However, you know, even destitute, even with his life over, he still left a legacy for the townspeople and for the people of Vulture City. And Wickenburg is still here today and still thriving. And it grew based off of this discovery that he made and helped to build. So there's a positive that came out of it, at least. And there's so many more ghost stories related to Vulture City. So if you enjoyed these ghost stories, definitely read more about it. You can also they have tours that you can take in Vulture City, as well as an overnight ghost hunting tour. There's a lot of really cool options. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you had a great time, and if you're interested in more videos like this, leave a thumbs up and let me know. You leave a comment as well. Let me know what kinds of places you would like to see for the month of October, doing some fun crafting in. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.